Hello my precious friends, I really hope that you're doing great. Welcome to today's class. It's our 15th lesson on a given Form 3 mathematics topic called Commercial Arithmetics 2. So we are looking at our 29th example on income tax, which reads that the table that follows shows the rate at which income tax is charged for all taxable incomes. Mr. Karanja earns a basic salary of 18,440 shillings per month. He is housed by the company and therefore 15% of his monthly salary is added to his basic salary as the taxable income. So we are required to calculate Mr. Karanja's taxable income in shillings per annum. Remember, in this case, we are told that Mr. Karanja is housed by the company. Therefore, in this case, we're going to consider 15% of his basic salary as the house allowance. Then in this case, we are also not given what we call the nominal rent. Therefore, this one simply means that the 15% of the basic salary is enough to cater for the total rent that this particular company requires to house Mr. Karanja. Remember that a nominal rent only arises if the 15% of the basic salary is not enough to cater for the total rent required. But in this case, because we are not given any nominal rent, it simply means that 15% of the basic salary is equal to the total rent required by the company to house Mr. Karanja. Therefore, for us to get the taxable income, so the taxable income will just be equal to, you're going to take 115%. We take 115% of the basic salary. We take 115% of the basic salary, which will be equal to, we take 115, then of course we multiply by the basic salary. The basic salary was 18,440 shillings per month. You feed this on the calculator, you take 115 over 100 multiplied by 18,440 shillings. Your calculator is going to give you a total of 21,206 shillings per month. They wanted us to calculate Mr. Karanja's taxable income in shillings per annum. So of course this one is already in shillings, so we just need to convert into per annum. Remember, per annum means per year. So this one is in 1 month. This is per month. Therefore, to get in per year, remember 1 year is equals to 12 months. Therefore, per annum, this will be, we are going to take 21,206 shillings per month. Then, of course, if we multiply by 12, this one will change into per year or per annum. So you take 21,206 multiplied by 12. Your calculator is going to give you a total of 254,472 shillings per annum. Remember, this amount can also be calculated this way. You can also separate the working. So we can also say that taxable income, the taxable income will be equal to, we can still take the 15% of the basic salary, 15% of the basic salary. Then of course we add the basic salary. So remember, in this case, the basic salary is representing our 100%. Then of course the 15%, this is what we are calling the house allowance. So if you take 100% plus 15%, that is why we are getting 115%. So of course this will be equal to, you take 15% of the basic salary. The basic salary was 18,440 shillings. Then of course you add the basic salary, which is still 18,440 shillings. So you take 15 over 100 multiplied by 18,440. Your calculator will give you 2,766 shillings. You add that to 18,440 shillings. You are going to get a total of 21,206 shillings. Then of course this is per month. So of course, to convert into per annum, you will take 21,206, then you multiply by 12 to change it into per per annum. So this will still give you a total of 254,472 shillings per annum. Notice that in this case, we are not subtracting the nominal rent because we are not given the nominal rent. Therefore, it means that the house rent that was being required by this particular company was an amount equivalent to 15% of the basic salary. So it means that the rent required by the company house was 2,766 shillings, which is equals to 15% of the basic salary. Therefore, there was no nominal rent required by the employee to pay back to the company because the 15%, which was the house rent, was equivalent to the amount required as the rental income for this particular company that was housing Mr. Karanja. Then part B, we are given the table. We are told that taxable income per year. Then of course this is in Kenya shillings. So our table is in Kenya shillings, then per annum or per year. So we are given the rate, which is in shillings for every Kenyan pound. So part B, we are told to calculate Mr. Karanja's gross tax or total tax in Kenya shillings per month. So of course, for us to get the gross tax, we need to know where our taxation is going to end. So our table is in Kenya shillings per annum. Therefore, we're going to use a taxable income that is in Kenya shillings per annum. So our taxable income was in Kenya shillings. We got it as 254,472. So this is 254, then 472 shillings per annum. So the first thing is just to ensure that your taxable income is rhyming with the table before you use it. If they are not rhyming, then you need to convert the taxable income to the values of the table because it must align with your table for you to apply it into the calculation. Then the next thing you check, the taxable income, in which tax bracket or tax slab is it lying in? So 254,472, of course, is going to lie in this particular tax bracket. That is, it is greater than 234 and 1 shillings, but at the same time, it is less than 312,000 shillings. Therefore, 254,472 is lying in the fourth tax bracket. So that means we'll tax the first bracket, second, third, then the remaining amount will be taxed in the fourth slab. Therefore, we start with the first slab. We start with the first slab. We'll just pick the amount that is here. We pick 78,000. Then, of course, this should be multiplied by our tax rate is 2 shillings. Now, we need to interpret this part. So this one means that this particular employee is being deducted a tax of 2 shillings for every 1 Kenyan pound that he's earning. Therefore, there is a tax. There is a tax of 2 shillings that is being deducted for every 1 Kenyan pound that is being earned. So this is money that is being earned. So what about 78,000, which is also an amount that is being earned? Remember the 78,000 from the table, it is in Kenya shillings per annum. So this one is in Kenya shillings per annum. Kenya shillings per annum. So these are tax that is being paid for every 1 Kenyan pound that is being earned. So what about this amount that is being earned? So if you do cross multiplication, you're going to have Kenya shillings of 78,000. Then of course this is per annum. Then of course you're going to, this is money that is being earned. So you're going to divide with 1 Kenyan pound that is also being earned. Then you multiply with a tax of 2 shillings that is being deducted. Now in this case, you realize that we are having Kenya shillings, then on the lower side we are having the Kenyan pound. So for these two to cancel, we have to convert the Kenyan pound into shillings. We know that 1 Kenyan pound is always equivalent to 20 Kenya shillings. Therefore, this one can be written as 20 Kenya shillings. Therefore, it means that in our equation here, so it means that this one can be rewritten as Kenya shillings, 78,000. This is per annum. Then of course this was money that was being earned. Then we were multiplying with the tax. We are multiplying with the tax of 2 shillings. Then this was to be divided by 1 Kenyan pound. But we know that 1 Kenyan pound is equivalent to 20 Kenya shillings. So I can divide this by 20 Kenya shillings. Remember, I'm changing this one into Kenya shillings so that the 2 shillings can cancel out. Of course, the shillings cannot cancel with the pounds. So clearly, the Kenya shillings will cancel out. So it means that in this particular question, you're going to be multiplying by 2, then we divide by 20. Then the answer that you're going to get, it must be in Kenya shillings, then of course, per annum. Therefore, you're going to be multiplying by 2, then divided by 20. Then whatever we get on this side, it must be in Kenya shillings. It must be in Kenya shillings, then of course, per annum. Kenya shillings per annum. So this one is going to give us the following. So if you take 78,000 multiplied by 2 divided by 20, your calculator will give you 7,800 shillings. We move to the second slab or the second bracket. So to get the amount, we'll take the difference between these two. So you take 156,000 then minus 78,000. You just subtract these two amounts. So of course this will give us 3 zeros. Then I'll borrow 1 to remain with 4. Then I bring the 1 here. This will be 8. 14 minus 7. Of course this is 0. I bring the 1 here. This will be 78,000. So I'll also have 78,000 being multiplied by. Now remember, in the second slab, the interpretation will be a tax of 3 shillings is being deducted for every 1 Kenyan pound that is being earned. So we are saying that a tax of 3 Kenya shillings, that is in the second slab, is being deducted for every 1 Kenyan pound that is being earned. Therefore, what about the 78,000? What about the 78,000 that is being earned? So remember, the 78,000 was in Kenya shillings per annum. So this is in Kenya shillings, then of course per annum. So we're going to take the Kenya shillings. We'll take the Kenya shillings of 78,000 then per annum, which is being earned, divided by 1 Kenyan pound, which is also being earned. Then of course we multiply with a tax of 3 Kenya shillings, which is being deducted. So clearly you can see that the Kenya shillings and the pounds cannot cancel out, but we know that 1 Kenyan pound is equivalent to 20 Kenya shillings. Therefore, I can rewrite this one as 20 Kenya shillings so that the Kenya shillings can cancel out. So this can be written as Kenya shillings 78,000, then of course per annum, which is being earned, then of course divided by the 1 Kenyan pound is equivalent to 20 Kenya shillings, then of course multiplied by a tax of 3 Kenya shillings. So clearly you can see that the Kenya shillings will cancel out. So it means that whatever you're going to have here, it will be multiplying by 3 then divided by 20. So this will be times 3 divided by 20. Then whatever answer we get on this side must be in Kenya shillings per annum. So this will be in Kenya shillings per annum. Therefore, the key thing is to note that the final units that you're supposed to get, then to know whether you are dividing by 20 or just multiplying by 3. So this will be equal to, you take 78,000 times 3 over 20, your calculator will give you 11,700 shillings. Similarly, for the third slab, we are still going to have the same value. We'll take 234, then minus 156. You take 234,000, you less 156,000. This will be 3 zeros. Of course, I'll borrow 1 to remain with 2. This will be 14 minus 6. This, of course, will give us 8. I'll borrow 1 to remain with 1 here. 12 minus 5, this will be 7, then of course 0. So in the third slab, we are still having 78,000. So similarly, in the third slab, we are going to, our tax rate is 4. So this will be times 4 over 20. So you take 78,000 times 4 over 20, your calculator will give you 15,600 shillings. So remember that this was to be our last tax bracket because our taxable income was lying between 234 and 1 up to 312,000 shillings. So that means in our fourth slab, which is our last slab, we are going to take the taxable income, which was this amount here. So which is 254,472. Then we are going to less with the amount that is coming immediately before the last slab. So we'll subtract from this amount. That is 234,000 minus 234,000. Then the tax rate in the fourth slab, the tax rate in the fourth slab is 5. So we're going to multiply by 5 over 20. Remember, we said the same amount can also be found this way. You can also take this one plus this one plus this one. You take 78,000, then plus 78,000 plus another 78,000. So we have 3 78,000. 1, 2, 3. So this will be 3 zeros. 8 plus 8, that is 16, plus 8, that is 24. Then you carry 2. 1, 2, 3. 7 times 3, that is 21, 22, 23. So this will be 23. So you can see we are still getting 234,000, which is the amount that was coming immediately before the last bracket. So of course this is going to give us the following. So if you take 254,472 minus 234,000, your calculator will give you 20,472. Then multiplied by 5 over 20. 2472 times 5 over 20. Your calculator would give you a total of 5,118 shillings. Therefore, it means that for us to get what we call the gross tax or the total tax, so we'll say gross tax, the gross tax, also called the total tax, will be equal to, we are simply going to add these amounts. So you take 7,800 plus 11,700 plus 15,600 plus 5,518. Your calculator is going to give you a total of 40,000. You will get 40,218 shillings. Then this was to be in Kenya shillings per annum. So this is in Kenya shillings per annum. Kenya shillings per annum. Then of course, after getting the gross tax, we need to specify the units of the question according to the requirement of the question. The question wanted the gross tax in Kenya shillings per month. Of course, this one is already in Kenya shillings, so we just need to convert it into per month. Therefore, our gross, the gross tax, tax, or what we are calling the total tax, the total tax will be equal to, so this was in Kenya shillings, we had 40,218. This was per annum. So to convert into month, we are going to divide by 12 because 1 year has 12 months. Therefore, in 1 month, we'll have 40,218 divided by 12, which is going to give us Kenya shillings 3,351 and 50 cents. So this is shillings per month. Therefore, this is what we are calling the gross tax. So in part C of the question, we are told to calculate Mr. Karanja's net annual pay in Kenya shillings if he was entitled to a family relief of 485 shillings per month. So of course, for us to get the net pay, we first of all need to have what we call the net tax, or what we are calling the payee, the net tax or the payee. Net tax will always be equal to the gross tax or the total tax, then of course minus a total relief minus the total relief. This will be equal to our gross tax. We have already gotten it here. It is 3,351.50 cents. So this is we are having Kenya shillings at 3,000. It is 33.51, 33.51 and 50 cents. 33.51 and 50 cents, of course, per month, minus our tax relief is Kenya shillings 485, 485 per month. So we are having 33.51 and 50 cents minus 485 shillings per month. This will give us Kenya shillings. So the difference, you feed that on the calculator, you're going to get 2,866 and 50 cents. Of course, this is shillings per month. Therefore, this is our net tax. Now, because in this particular case, we don't have any other deduction, we know that total deduction, the total deduction will be equal to the payee or the net tax. It will be equal to the net tax or the payee. So whenever you are not given any other deductions, it simply means that the total deductions will always be equal to the net tax or the payee. Therefore, our total deductions will be equal to the payee, which is Kenya shillings 2,866 and 50 cents. Of course, this is per month. Therefore, for us to get what we call the net pay, we can start with net monthly pay. This will be equal to the taxable income, then of course we less total deductions, So this will be equal to our taxable income in shillings per month was equal to this was equal to 21,206. This was 21,206. So we had Kenya shillings 21,206 per month. Then minus the total deductions is Kenya shillings 2,866 and 50 cents. Of course, this is shillings per month. So the difference is going to give us, you take 21,206 minus 2,866 and 50 cents. Your calculator is going to give you 18,339 and 50 cents. Of course, this is shillings per month. But the question wanted us to find the net annual. The question wants us to find the net annual pay. Remember, annual means per year. That is in shillings. So that means our net annual pay will be equal to, so we are going to have the Kenya shillings of 18,339 and 50 cents. Of course, this is per month. So into per annum, we are going to multiply by 12 to change it into per year. So this is gonna give us Kenya shillings. You take 18,339 and 50 cents multiplied by 12. The calculator will give you 220,000 and 74 shillings. Then of course per annum. So we'll have 220 and 74 shillings per annum. Thank you very much for accompanying me until the end of this particular lesson. I do not take it for granted. In case you're new to the channel, kindly hit the subscribe button and also turn on the notification bell so that whenever I upload a new video, you'll get notified. Until next time, this is Kind Tuition Academy. Thank you very much.